Tune in, show us you got New England pride. Show us you've got New England pride. Hey kids, welcome to New England Pride TV. My name is Dale LePage.
And I'm Jeff Burke.
And in case you didn't know, this, my handsome, very handsome co-star right here, is my hubby of 35 years. So can you imagine putting up with this neurotic mess for 35 years? I think you deserve like a Purple Heart or something. I'll get you a trophy for that. Let me just say right away that this is episode 1 of season 6. I am overwhelmed, and just the love and the outpouring of support is incredible for us here, and we all appreciate it. As you know, nothing happens without our sponsors. So if you would like to be a sponsor of New England Pride TV, it is extremely affordable, and the show goes out to over 3 million homes throughout New England. So first of all, we're going to start off with Pride Pets. But one little thing I want to inject right here is my hubby's going to read Pride Pets with me, but I just realized that I spilt honey all over his script this morning, so all the pages are stuck together. So that's real live TV. Yeah, they are all stuck together. So that is honey. So we're going to start with Pride Pets with my little sticky paper hubby. All right. Thank you once again for supporting Pride Pets. Because of you, we found so many homes for our furry friends. All right.
Today on Pride Pets, we would like to introduce you to Paws and Claws New England. Paws and Claws is a nonprofit 501c3 organization made up of volunteers who devote and dedicate their love, time, and personal resources 7 days a week, 365 days per year, to rescue and care for homeless, abused, and abandoned animals.
Paws and Claws New England goals are to promote kindness to animals throughout education, protect animals from abuse, neglect, exploitation, and overpopulation, advocate responsible pet ownership, assist in the reunion of lost pets with their owners, assist in finding forever homes for the companion animals that are available. For more information, contact Paws and Claws of New England at realpuppy3@gmail.com or find Paws and Claws on Facebook. Thank you. We'll be right back with more New England Pride TV right after this.
New England Pride TV is presented by Fallon Health and sponsored by the Hanover Theater for the Performing Arts, Remax Vision, Bay State Savings Bank, Safe Homes, Joseph Gonzalez Dofre, Boston wedding photographer, Paul Chasen Interior Design, Nuovo Restaurant, Dr. Frank P. Fetchner Plastic Surgery, The Queen's Cups, Escape Games Worcester, Art Reach, Electric Haze, Bull Mansion, Ellie's Pet Barn, Handmade Taekwondo Center, and Herd Strategy and Storytelling.
Hey kids, we're back. Thanks for sticking with us. I'm here right now with
David Connor,
Stephanie Ewell,
and they have something so exciting that's coming up. I can't wait to let everyone know all about it. First of all, you're here representing what?
So I work for Worcester Historical Museum. I'm the Director of Community Engagement, and I've been working with Stephanie for the last 6 months on this project.
Yep.
We are chronicling the lives of LGBTQ people in Worcester.
For the Worcester Historical Museum to do this, that is huge.
It is
That's
huge.
huge to me.
Yeah.
Now, how did this kind of happen?
So I'm a professor of history at the College of the Holy Cross and a gender and sexualities and public history expert. And Bill Wallace, the executive director of the museum, and I.
Hi, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
Had worked together on an exhibit a few years ago called Worcester in 50 Objects that I curated.
Oh, yes.
And it was super fun.
Is that how it started?
Well, this is how my curation with Bill started. And then we
Okay.
were, one day, we found ourselves not together, but we ran into each other in the Shaws. That's a very
Okay.
local story.
Yeah.
On Gold Star Boulevard, and started talking about other projects. And we're thinking, you know, the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising is coming up in June of this year, a landmark moment in LGBTQ rights activism and history. And so we were thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful to do an exhibit and to build an archive on LGBTQ histories in Worcester County, because this is a story that has been on the margins for so long.
Yes, yeah.
And the logic, at least my logic as an academic, is if people have a history and you have an archive, then you have firm ground to stand on when people in the contemporary moment want to take away your political rights and say you're just of the now and you don't have legitimacy.
So this idea was born at the deli section in Shaw's?
It was, I think it was the cereal aisle, but yes.
That is great. I love that. I love the origin story. Now, getting back for 1 second about the 50 objects, you were nice enough to have New England Pride TV included in that, so thank you for that.
We
That was a
were.
big.
Thank you.
That was a big deal for us. So thank you.
Yeah.
And so you're reaching out to all the people who have stories to tell.
Yeah, so it's a three-prong project.
Okay.
The goal is to build an archive, which means to collect from individuals in the community
Right.
artifacts, documents, and memories that we can then have at the museum. So
Photos,
it's
posters,
photos, posters, T-shirts,
records,
phone
T-shirts.
numbers on bar napkins.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
everything.
That was the thing, right?
Yeah, and before phones, right?
Before phones.
And to build this archive to help to tell, so that scholars and students, et cetera, and community members can know their history. The middle point of the project is an exhibit that's opening at the museum on April 25th through October 12th.
Yes.
And David can talk more about some of that. The other third piece of it is an oral history project, because many of these stories are contained in people and in their
Right,
memories.
right.
Again, because people were from the margins, that sometimes the public nature of the lives of the past aren't really available because they were endangered at times. They were living on the margins.
Well, I was fortunate enough to be called in to interview with you.
Yeah.
This is what you're referring to, correct?
Correct, yeah.
And I loved the feeling of validation I got during my interview, where first of all you were extremely easy to talk to and very
Thank you.
funny
Thank
and
you.
fun. But I was trying to express to people that might be reading it or viewing it how it was dangerous back then. It was
Right.
incredibly dangerous. I referenced one of my friends being pulled into a van and being beat. Did other people have stories like that also?
Yeah, there have been plenty of stories of gay bashing
Yeah.
and fears of walking from your car to the mailbox.
Absolutely.
Of
Yeah.
homophobic epithets being thrown at people,
Yeah.
of a highly closeted community. But then that made spaces through bars or bookstores or the Metropolitan Community Church, et cetera,
Right.
for community and solidarity.
Right.
So
'Cause
it's been
I-
really
I- I
powerful.
remember the beer bottle being thrown at my
Mm-hmm.
head and all that. All these slurs that you and I think I was maybe 18, Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many people are you interviewing for this project?
So far we've interviewed about 18 or 19.
Okay.
The goal is that the exhibit is the space in the middle of the project, which I should say, the project's been really generously underwritten by the College of the Holy Cross. We
Ooh,
won.
thank
I
you.
applied for,
Wow.
yeah, I applied for and
Wow.
won a Mellon Foundation grant for the Scholarship in Action, which is this idea of bringing scholarly expertise into the community. So I'm helping to build with Bill Wallace and then the two co-curators who need a shout out, who are Bob Tobin, a professor of queer literature at
Hi,
Clark
Bob.
University. Hi,
Yeah,
Bob.
we love Bob. We love Bob.
Brilliant. And Joseph Cullen, equally brilliant, professor of history at WPI. Who's our digital curator, who's bringing all the scanning and bringing all the material. When people bring materials in, he's taking care of making them available. So it's been really generously underwritten with the Scholarship in Action grant. It's a 3-year project. The exhibit's the middle point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure people are going to come and say, that's not right. I don't remember it that way. Why aren't I there? And we are thrilled.
Yeah, because you can add them for
That's
the
the
future.
point of the
yeah.
It's an
exhibit.
ongoing story.
Yeah.
It's an
How did
ongoing
you get
story.
involved in this now?
So I've been a part of the Latino History Project of Worcester, which is a 5-year project. So we kind of wanted to model the LGBTQ History Project after that. So what we do is we invite community stakeholders to the table to get the project out, to get the story out. And so Bill approached me and asked me if I was interested in a position at the museum to sort of gather the troops, I guess is the word for that. Yeah.
And how would you go about that?
So it's a really interesting process. We try to find academics. We try to find different representatives from around the city who are willing to put in the time, because these projects are a lot of time and effort. We spend a lot of time behind the scenes and working nights and getting the story told. And so it's been, it's a challenge. And so that's kind of what my job is, to gather the troops and to get the story out.
And David's been a lifesaver. So we got our community board together. I think we had it together for a few months, and you came on, and it's just been great. So
How
the
many
board,
people are on that?
The board is about 12-ish or so. So
Okay.
folks from Age Project Worcester,
Yep.
from Worcester Pride,
Yep.
Boys and Girls Club, UMass, Clark University, all sorts of different partners in the community.
Right.
And the idea is also for the museum to build sustainable practices for telling and collecting marginalized histories. In other words, trying to be really inclusive and representative of the diversity of Worcester history, not just top-down history, and also to strengthen relationships, right? So,
It's also a moment for us to put a permanent stamp on history in the city for the LGBTQ people.
right.
One of the things, the Worcester Historical Museum is really doing something I think which is incredibly progressive by doing this. And I mean, when I moved here back in 1979, I don't think it would have even been a thought
Right.
to.
Can I just say that I think it's a very serendipitous moment for Worcester's history right now, LGBTQ history specifically. You have people all across the city who are doing great work to kind of push us forward as a community. You have the people from the LGBTQ Asylum Task Force who,
Yeah.
through their fundraising efforts, are each year getting bigger, raising more money, providing spaces for people. And then you have people at UMass who are advocating for an LGBTQ cultural center. So I think Worcester Historical Museum is doing the right thing at the right time to kind of push this story
Absolutely.
narrative forward.
But we have to be careful too, right? Because if you look at the history, in around 2000, 2004, 2003-04, Water Street became a kind of hotbed for LGBTQ activity.
It
Pride
did.
Parade
It
was
did.
there,
Yes.
Vibes was
Yeah.
there. There were
Yeah.
several
Yeah.
openly LGBTQ-owned businesses, and at the same time as the debate around marriage equality. So there was a real sense of momentum in the early 2000s that then kind of fizzled out a little bit, and people
did.
in our oral
It
histories
did.
have
Yeah.
been disappointed by that. And so I
Yes.
think it's really important
Yeah.
that
That's a
your
whole-
audience
That's another
get behind this
aspect of it,
Absolutely.
right?
so that this is the moment.
Right.
This can be the watershed of true inclusion and empowerment, because Worcester, for many people, remains a relatively closeted space.
It's
Well-
one foot out the closet, one foot in.
Yeah. It took a long time to get this far, and I'm sure we're going to be making a lot more progress. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of this interview, which is
thank
so
you.
sad. But I want to just give once more the date of the exhibit,
Sure.
where it's located,
Okay.
even like where in the museum. You've got
Sure.
like
So-
28 seconds.
Great. So it's the LGBTQ Histories of Worcester County. We're still talking about the title.
Okay.
It's opening on April 25th at the Worcester Historical Museum on 30 Elm Street in Worcester. And it runs until October 12th. We're also going to have all sorts of awesome programming, again, to try to be inclusive of the many communities that fall under the LGBTQ plus
Nice.
umbrella. Yeah, because it's really about advocacy and education and building solidarity. And I guess I would end with the plea to members of the community that we can only be a platform to tell the stories that you tell and that you let us tell. So thank you
Contact
for your
us.
help.
Contact us and let us know your story.
Give
All right.
David Connor a call.
Thank you so much. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hello, everyone. It's me, Miss Lady Sabrina, and we're back. Now, let's talk about the migration of morals, shall we? The migration of morals is when we start to reach spring, and everyone who has had to rely on their personality can now stop relying on their personality and now just take their clothes off. We have in our culture the moment spring arrives and all of a sudden everyone starts getting out of their relationships because they wish to partake in the summer spoils. My personal opinion on this is not for those individuals, because those individuals cannot be helped. This is for the ones on the other side of the fence. One of the things that we run into when all of a sudden someone wants to leave is we start kind of thinking about the different things that we could or couldn't have done or should have done. And I think, when we're talking about those individuals who like to be single for the summer, unfortunately there's no way for us to keep someone like that. I think it's for us to kind of identify, what our needs and our goals are, and then maybe seek out someone who has similar values. I have a lot of friends who, during these times get very down on themselves because they all of a sudden, have an empty space in their bed and in their hearts. I think one of the things is this gives you a great opportunity to kind of do a self-evaluation of what are some of the things that you're looking for. So I'm going to give you just a quick idea of something that you can do. It's called a dating Bible, okay? What it is you make a list. Actually, you make two lists. Things that you want and things that you don't want. Now, once you have that list complete, you split that list up into two different categories. Things I absolutely have to have, and things I want but could live without. And then on the other one, things they absolutely can't have, or things that if they had, I don't like but I could live with. Now, once you've completed that, you eliminate the two middle columns and just keep the outside columns, which are the things they absolutely have to have and the things that they absolutely can't have. Now, moving forward, this is what we call your dating Bible. So when you go on a date, you go through the list, and if they don't have everything on the first list, or if they have something on the last list, then they're not a candidate for you and you must move on. Even if, you're catching feelings for the person, if they're not going to be there for the long haul, it's better to know now than down the road or in spring. What I would like you all to do is I would like you to try and do that list for yourselves and find your self-worth and find what it is that makes you special. And if the person that you're with doesn't see your value, it doesn't make you less valuable. It just makes them less able to see it. We'll just use that word. So give that a try. I love you all, and I hope you are all having a great year so far. If you need anything else, all you have to do is write New England Pride TV if you have a question for me. I love you all. Love and light. Lady Sabrina.
Welcome back to more New England Pride TV. I'm your host, Dale LePage. I am joined right now by
Chris Shepard, the Artistic Director of Concora, Connecticut Choral Artists. We are a professional choir based in the Hartford area.
and yourself.
Jamie Spillane, Director of Choirs at UConn.
Now, I went to go see Considering Matthew Shepard, which is a magnificent piece of music and I'm going to say theater at Mechanics Hall in Worcester. I cried the ugly cry. I thought it was profound. I think I even wrote that when I sent an email off to whoever your executive director is, and I'm like, the event was profound. It left me weeping with sorrow and joy. So how did this Considering Matthew Shepard begin? What's the origin of this?
Well, 20 years ago, Matthew Shepard was brutally murdered in Wyoming. And Craig Hella Johnson, who's a brilliant conductor of a group called Conspirare and composer, was powerfully moved and decided that he needed to, in some ways, come to terms with his own ache about it, and also
he had to work his way through it.
Work his way through it, and through doing that, change the world a bit, help us, and help be a window into this tragedy. So he started writing, and he came up with was somewhat much like a Passion, where everything was sad. It was like the death of Matthew Shepard.
Yes.
And they did the workshop performance, which was I think 20 to 40 minutes long. And then he talked to some other collaborators. And the other collaborators, one being Michael Dennis Brown, a well-known poet in the Midwest. And Michael said, we have to tell just not the sad story. We have to give people a window into who Matthew was, and who were the players in this tragedy.
Which is done so well.
And I think that's what made it, what makes it powerful.
Because I was unaware of this. I think everybody I know is aware or should be aware, know who Matthew Shepard is. But those kind of like side stories are what makes it so personal and it just sucks you in. Now, your role in this is...
Yeah, well, Chris and I, last year, kind of about this time almost, we said we need to get our choirs together, Concora and the chamber singers at UConn together. Let's do a project.
Okay.
So we went and we had lunch together, and we were talking about big things like Monteverdi, just big choral works.
Yeah.
And then Chris said, what I'd really like to do is considering Matthew Shepard. And I stopped because
you had
I
been
was
aware?
thinking the same thing.
Oh,
That's what
I
I
have
really wanted
goosebumps
to
right
do.
now.
And it was one of those, I had goosebumps.
Yeah.
Because I think at lunch we both went,
Oh my God.
this is what we have to do.
And in fact, the whole project from beginning to end, everything unfolded in such an organic way. I tend to be a bit skeptical about these works. The choral community is such that there's often one composer or one work that everybody talks about. And it's like my musical theater friends with Hamilton. They resisted it at first. And then I said, well, I should listen to this. And I actually conduct a choir, the Worcester Chorus here in Worcester, but live an hour and a half away in Connecticut. So I listened to it on my drive home. And like you experienced, Dale, I had to pull over because I was
was
just
that powerful?
it was just
Yeah.
unbelievably powerful.
Yeah.
So then the fact that Jamie was as interested, and it unfolded in such a way that we really believed that this was a perfect opportunity also to reach out to different communities, bring more people in, and also to be able to raise some money for different organizations.
Right.
I think, in particular here in Worcester, of the Asylum Task Force,
Yes.
which is just, and there are many other,
Yeah.
we raised well over 10 grand for organizations in Stamford, Connecticut, in Hartford, where we also performed, and here in Worcester. But I think the Asylum Task Force really brought home that there are still so many people around the world living as Matthew Shepard lived in those final
yes.
moments.
Yep.
And so whatever we can do to use this message of hope in the face of such tragedy, like that's the power of music to transcend
Absolutely.
hatred, right?
Absolutely, that's what it's all about.
And I think-
Education leads to understanding. That's my motto for.
Yeah, perfect.
I think one of the most poignant messages of considering Matthew Shepard, and it's just not one community. There's a wonderful movement called All of Us, is that making this important involves every human, not specifically anybody. It's
Right.
all of our responsibility to make a difference here and
in
to
fact,
love
if,
more.
if you wanted a way into this piece for all our viewers, I would just say go to YouTube,
Yep.
type in All of Us,
Okay.
and then Johnson, Craig Hella Johnson.
Okay.
Because that is the movement that so many of us first came to. You might remember,
I'm
Dale,
not aware of this,
It-
but so thank you.
it's
yeah.
the gospel piece right at the very end.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it
oh,
is
oh,
just
okay.
so
Okay. It's
powerful.
right out of that. It's very
Oh,
powerful.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
But
hopeful.
and I love that message. Just it's all of us.
I'm very.
all of us.
I'm very, first of all, inspired by you, and I'm also very curious. How long did it take you to get this show ready?
Well, I should say, first of all, Craig Hella Johnson, in addition to being a great conductor, is a great pianist. So he wrote it so that he would lead the whole thing from the piano. Jamie and I split those roles. I selfishly got to play this terrific piano part that Craig wrote, and Jamie led it, and he knows a whole lot about what went into that.
So we got the music, and we were one of the first choirs, other than Craig's own choir, that did it. In fact, we may have been the first performance that was not conducted by Craig himself. So there was a lot. It was much a work in progress. We didn't get completed music. We got manuscripts that had things crossed out.
See, this is not what I thought. I thought you just got mailed this show.
No,
Yeah,
we're a
we
little
got-
bit too early for that.
Yeah, and the instrumental parts were the instrumentalist's own parts that had things crossed out, and the measure numbers didn't
okay.
match up. So we had to work hard.
How long do you think it took to get it show ready?
I've rehearsed for months.
Yeah, and we started learning it in May,
Yeah.
and I studied it all summer. And by the time we got to fall in rehearsals, we were better. And then
Yeah.
when we put the instrumentals together, it was another thump. It
So
was hard.
where was your first performance?
Stanford.
Yes.
Stanford.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Hartford was a very poignant one as well. We had a huge community following there, so full
Yep.
church, and
Yep.
there was a real electricity
Yep.
in the Hartford performance.
Now, I've sung in Mechanics Hall more than a dozen times. Did you find the sound as beautiful as I did in the hall?
It's a fantastic
Yeah.
space, and it's also inspiring. There's the aesthetic. You
Yes,
look
it's-
up.
it's gorgeous.
So it's
Yeah.
not only how it sounds, it's how it looks.
Oh, right. It's
Yeah.
stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, we have to kind of wrap this up. I wish we had more time, but as you know, we'll take what we can get, right?
You bet.
How can people find out about the show and where it's going to be performed?
So we'll do it one more time this spring,
Okay.
and that's April 6th at the University of Connecticut,
Okay.
UConn.
Okay.
It's in the evening. I think it's at 8 o'clock on April
Okay.
6th.
All
And you should find out about the show and the story. Just anyone can Google "Considering Matthew Shepard," and you'll get a wealth of things. I did that last night, and the Worcester show comes up, and there's lots of resources.
One of the, real quick, I think we have like 30 seconds left. You had me in tears at the deer that stayed by the body of the Matthew Shepard. All right. For you to find out more about Considering Matthew Shepard, just go to website, Facebook page.
Yeah, Concora, CONCORA.org.
All right, thank you so much. We'll be back.
Hey, it's me, Amy T, with another episode of ECT. It's a Sunday morning. I'm sitting here, I got a cup of coffee, and I'm writing for my one-woman show. And all of a sudden, I just realized, I'm like, wow, we're just about into springtime, and makes me started to think, like, where I'm at, where on my path to wellness in the new year. So I started to reflect a little bit. Let's take a look and some inventory on where I'm at. For starters, I don't think you can ever go wrong with a fresh mani-pedi.
That's good.
The girls and I got another deal on Groupon and went to a Himalayan salt cave for some therapeutic meditation and detoxification. And I'm continuing on my path of wellness and my commitment to my health and head back into the gym. I think it's about 7 below this. I went back to my roots and made breakfast for my friend. And let's be honest, can you really go wrong with a tea party with a 2-year-old? For your tea. Sometimes it's just as simple as a relaxing nap. My environment is extremely important to my mental health, so a fresh coat of paint can make all the difference in the world, and a perfectly manicured lawn.
She has lost her mind.
I took my first Uber ride to my very first Celtics game. We had so much fun, and they won. I got out of my comfort zone and went bowling. It's a lot for me because it stimulates my anxiety and panic attacks, but I had a great time. And the best part of it all, my one-woman show sold out in under a month, and I got to perform at Laugh Boston.
Like, I don't get political at all. I don't like to talk politics on stage or anything. But can we just all agree, like, Trump's brain is what happens when syphilis goes undetected for like a decade? Can we just agree with that? I'm nervous, right? When he was doing repeal and replace, right? I got nervous. I thought I was going to lose my health care, And I hadn't been to the doctor in like 15 years. Then they sent me for an internal ultrasound. Ladies, yeah, all up inside me, Amy T. And I'm already nervous and anxious as it was, right? And the nurse comes barging in and she just starts barking at me. She's like, is there any chance that you could possibly be pregnant? Nope. Right? Like, I need you to feel the temperature of the room, So she's yelling at me. She's like, well, how do you know? What kind of birth control do you use? Girls.
I don't know. So far, I think I'm having a pretty good year. Until next time, this is Amy T with ECT. Make sure you're responsible for the energy you bring into this world. Practice compassion and tolerance.
Hey kids, thanks for watching. We've come to the end of another episode of New England Pride TV. Season 6, Episode 1. Thank you for all your support and love. I've learned a lot today, as I always do. Have you learned anything?
I've learned plenty.
We're always learning. And we're going to end the show the way we always do by saying, please don't be afraid to shine your light.
Because you may be lighting the way for someone in need.
That's right. Until next time, thanks for watching New England Pride TV. Bye.
Tune in, show us you've got New England pride. Show us you've got New England pride. New England pride.